Okay, hi guys. This is a tutorial video on how to set up OpenMVG to be used, and also you'll be using some Python files made by the authors themselves to run the different executable files. So first, a disclaimer: I'm not from OpenMVG. I'll leave a link to their GitHub page, right? So that's their work, right? I'm just helping you to install, right? So first we need to install Visual Studio with this C++ desktop thing, right? So I Google Visual Studio, download Visual Studio, right? So I think this is quite straightforward. Yeah, so okay, so once we download Visual Studio, the installer, yeah, so I'm running. So here we want to find the C++ desktop development. So we tick this, right? Don't know whether you can see. Desktop development with C++. Just tick that. Then install, right? Let me just check. Yeah, desktop, desktop. Install. Okay, so next, so your Visual Studio should be installed. I'm just going to close it first. So next is your CMake, right? So CMake is used to install the OpenMVG library stuff. So it's Google CMake, right? So we're going to be using the GUI. So I think press download. Yeah, I press download. Right. So you find whichever is relevant. I'm using Windows, so I'm going to pick the binary one. So it's just easier for me, right? So Windows x64, yeah, that looks right. Yeah, installer, right? I'm just going to run that. Next, accept, next. Yeah, this is good. Next, install. So your CMake is installed already, right? So we're gonna go and find. You can Google OpenMVG, right? Should be the very first GitHub page you find, right? And let's go to the documentation, right? You go to build.md, right? They tell us how to install. So over here, right? You go and, because I'm using Windows, or yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. You go and Control C this, right? You copy this. You need to have this recursive thing, right? Then okay, we put that one side first. So I want to put it here, right? This is my libraries folder. It's just some folder I created. So I right click, copy address as text first. I create a command prompt window, CMD for me, Windows. Zoom in a bit. CD to change directory. Let's go to our libraries. Right. So now we're here. Then now we go and copy this, right? For me, I don't have this dollar because I'm not using Bash. I'm using the Windows. So just copy this and let it run. So once that is done, now I want to do the CMake, right? So CMake is to go and install and create our OpenMVG files from the git clone folder. So we go to our CMake. I made a shortcut here, right? So I can't make it any bigger, but the first line is where is the source code. So all the way at the right, we browse source, right? We go to where our GitHub clone is, right? So as per the documentation, the source is folder is this OpenMVG/src, right? So this is the folder source, right? Then inside, okay, let's say we go to the source folder. Just now we referenced, oops, here, right? I'm gonna create a new folder. It doesn't have to be here, but this is what's typically done. for CMake. In the source folder, I'm going to create a new folder called build, right? Yeah, so that's done. That's brand new folder. Then back in the CMake on the third line, where to build the binaries, right? I'm going to browse build on the right. Right, so I created, and I'm going to select this build folder lah. OpenMVG source and the brand new build folder. Select folder. So you see source is here, build is one more, this new folder we created. So you should configure, right? It will auto detect your Visual Studio, right? And then we press finish lah. Just press finish and let's let it run. Okay, so once that is done, the configuration is done, then we just press generate. So this will generate the Visual Studio project lah. It's quite fast, right? So next tip, here we don't press open project here directly. Instead, because we need to run it as admin. So I'm gonna go look for the in fact I think I can close this first. Yeah, I can just close this, right? I'm gonna go look for, remember we went to libraries, go look for our build folder. OpenMVG source build, and then over here we're going to look for our solution, OpenMVG.sln, right? Okay, so this is where it's stored. I'm going to copy this build folder, right? And command prompt, right? Let's say, okay, let me search command prompt. Then I'm going to right click, run as admin. This is important. In the run as admin, right? So then I'm going to cd to that where my build folder is, right? And inside we're going to run this. Just type it. Let's Control C it and Control V and enter. So this will open the Visual Studio as admin also lah, right? So okay, so that's done. So first thing, we change to on top here, we change to release mode. Now it's in debug, change to release here. Okay, next, under the CMake predefined targets, we open up that folder. First thing, there's this all build, all underscore build, right click and press build. So the next one, after that is done, you're going to right click on install and build. This should be relatively faster. So we can sort of verify where we install. So actually in the CMake, just now there was some install directory that is by default lah. So see the CMake install prefix by default is here lah. So earlier if you would change it, then it will be changed lah, but I didn't change it. This C program x86. So let's go check that out. C program files x86, which is 32 bits lah. Yeah, OpenMVG. So this is where all the stuff you need is there lah. Once that's done, okay, so next is a Python file. For me, I'm using PyCharm lah, but you can use whatever IDE for this. I'm going to leave a link to the .py file. It's just a bit modified, but again, this .py file is from the authors themselves, right, of OpenMVG. I didn't create this, right? The .py file will run basically the different binary files here lah, that we created using the Visual Studio, right? It's just an API, right? So I'll link the modified .py file, right? So we just go to the link and download, right? So first we are going to go set up our scenes, our photos lah, right? So I just created this folder. There's some test images here, which is a smaller data set, right? I took some photos of this somewhere in NTU lah, my university. So this has a lot more stuff, right? It's for my own use. So we're gonna do for the castle one first, and I'm gonna help you to set up. Okay, so For me, I'm going to open up my PyCharm, right? I already have so you're going to find the OpenMVG is linked in the description below, right? And you go open up, okay, for me, I put it into a PyCharm thing, right? So, you go and open up and go and see each of the to-dos, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Go read each of them, right? Okay, so to do 1, okay, after you CMake installation, go and find where you store your binary files, right? So by default, it shouldn't change lah, assuming you didn't change anything in the CMake configuration. It should be your x86, OpenMVG, binary, yeah, this folder lah. So you just copy address as text, and you just put it inside lah. Yeah. So if you're using Windows, you gotta take note that Windows does this funny backslash thing, which you gotta manually change it to / lah. If not, there'll be an error in Python. So next is you change this camera sensor with directory over here, right, to where you did the git clone, right? Then there's some folder inside. So this is not where you install, right? This is where you just did the git clone for the OpenMVG, right? So we're gonna find that. So remember, we did the git clone to here. It's not where we install, it's where we git clone only. Libraries, OpenMVG, source. Yeah, so you just find based on that lah. OpenMVG, exif. Exif is dealing with your camera details. Sensor with database, right? So this folder, copy address as text, you paste here, right? Then make sure to do all the slashes are // lah. So this is a folder also. So okay, next thing, to do 3. This one is important, very important, right? So inside this folder, right, there's a .txt file, right? Double click that. You need to edit this. This is important, right? So for me, let me find some song. Okay, so for me, it's not here yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add a new entry, right? So you just follow these instructions, right? But basically, what's over here is if you go to your scenes, right? Let's say your photos, right? So let's say for my Yunnan Memorial, right? This is an actual place that I took, right? You pick on one of the photos, right? I assume you took using the same camera, which is your phone usually. You right click, go to properties, go to details, right? Okay, go and find camera, then camera maker. Okay, this one is the first one. Just put it on top. Control V, space, right? I want to take away the auto capitalization, right? Because mine is lowercase lah. And next is Galaxy S24 Plus. Make sure I got the space. No more space, just a semicolon. I'm going to type 8.0. Okay, I'm going to explain what that is lah. So in your scenes, right, it will check each of the photos, right, and go and retrieve from the properties lah, the properties, details, and whatever, right? And then it would use that to estimate some of they call it the intrinsic parameters about your camera, right? So this one is the camera maker. This one is the model. You'll just do a space here, semicolon. This is your sensor width, the camera sensor width in millimeters lah. I give an explanation here. You don't have to know, right? But 8.0 is a typical for phone cameras lah. I think good enough lah. Yeah, I just ask ChatGPT. I explain here how I derive it, or how they derive it lah, ChatGPT. Right. So that's number 4. Yeah. So make sure you add this entry according to your phone lah. So you check the photo and see the properties to see all these sort of details lah. And 8.0, I think you can just try to use this, right? Or you go and Google, find your camera details based on your phone lah. Okay, I just save this. You can add it on top. It's fine. Right. Okay, next, I'm going to do a brand new scene. I already did for my Yunnan Memorial lah. Just gonna double check. It should be the same lah. Details. Yeah, Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus. Right, I took this, use the same phone. Right, so next is number 4. Right, inputs. So I added a new scene for myself, which is this AIA canopy lah. So I'm gonna add that, change that in the Python file. Scenes AIA canopy. Right. So number 5, you don't need to create the folder, but you need to specify a sort of output folder lah, where you're going to store all the .ply, which is your 3D model, right, of your scene, right. Later I'll show you how to look at it, right. So let's check through AI canopy output. Okay, looks good. Then we can just run this. Alright, so I'm using PyCharm, so I just run it here. Let's save first and run. So yeah, you see a lot of red color, don't worry, it's not error, unless it says an error lah. You should see something like, oh, intrinsics listed in SFM data 1. Nice. So you managed to get the intrinsic camera data lah. Yeah, so as this is going on, if you want to sort of analyze this, maybe if you happen to be doing a school, like some report on this, to want to analyze this, right? You can look at this, right? So there's sort of two sort of pipelines, they call it. One is the global one. Personally, I'm gonna be looking at and then the top one here is the sequential one. So this one is the first one, which is for sequential, right? It's gonna store it in the yeah. So you can take a look at this, read up the documentation or what they're actually doing for each part lah. This one is a different one, a different sort of pipeline, and you see the folders for that lah. It's different, slightly different. So this one is for the so they're actually doing it twice lah. So it's gonna let that run, and then it should take quite a while lah. Maybe even 1 hour. So just give it some time. So once that's done, you see process finish with exit code 0. So for me, I'm using this thing called Cloud Compare. You can go and disinstall that. It's quite easy to Google, right? So you see in my scenes, now I have a output version, right? So there's a global pipeline and a sequential pipeline. Both are just different ways, right? I'm going to use the sequential one, and the one I want to show is the colorize.ply, right? All the rest you can just sort of ignore, I think. So I'm going to open up my Cloud Compare. So file, top left, open, right? So change this to .ply. It's going to be a Cloud Compare .cc file first. So you're just going to look for .ply, change this lah. They can see the relevant files. So I'm going to go to my AIA canopy output, reconstruction sequential. You can go to global. I think it's still about the same. I just prefer sequential lah. I'm going to pick my colorize.ply, open. Just leave it at default, apply. Right, so first thing is you can sort of see the scene here, right? So first, if you want to pick the rotation center at the left, you can use that left click, then click on somewhere at the middle there. Yes, let's say I press yes. Right, so now it's centered. And to sort of move around, I'm using left click to rotate, and right click, hold to sort of shift and move, and then my mouse to move around. So this is what you kind of see lah. So that's that. Yeah. So it's not fantastic, but I think it's something, and I think you can use this for your reconstruction.